Can Arsenal win the Premier League? Are they title challengers? That is a question we're going to be answering in today's video. I'm joined by Alex and I am Tom. This is Football Fix and I hope you enjoy today's video.
Yeah, so we're just going to be talking about Arsenal off the back of another great win against Brentford. Utter domination it was, wasn't it? They're quite a solid side, normally Brentford as well. So it's just really stamping their dominance on the league when you go and beat a side like that. I think it's their biggest loss at home for about a year or 2 years, even at home, Brentford. So it's a really good win for Arsenal, and it's got a lot of talking points from it going into the international break for sure.
I mean, it was a phenomenal result. Obviously at Brentford. I saw a lot of Brentford fans tweet something like they hadn't been dominated like that at home since City last played them. Was it in August? And I think that's a testament to Mikel Arteta's side. We obviously scored early on. I think we dominated the game from the off. Brentford didn't really get chance to offer very much going forward. I think that's a mix of also the crowd not really being on it in the day, but also a testament to how much Arsenal controlled possession. They had 65% possession above to Brentford, and they really carved them open whenever they could. Now, that development of the side with Gabby Jesus in, and also it's a big win for Arsenal because it showed more development in terms of the maturity of the side. They were lacking Ødegaard in the game and key players from the off. So Fabio Vieira had to step in, for example,
Yeah.
and they stood the test. They played well, and they got the result. So there's not much more you can ask for. I mean, Zinchenko was obviously a casualty in that game, but when you align it to City, the test for me at least is going to be the depth. They can perform like that, and it's seen that Arsenal can perform that well. But one, can they do it when it comes to facing City and Liverpool? And two, do they have the squad depth to keep this level of form and performance up consistently throughout the season? But what do you think about the title race? Are Arsenal title contenders in your opinion?
Um, I still think it's a little bit early to say they are. I just still the thing in the back of my head of how Arsenal still. I still think that you can have a couple of games that you'll lose or you might draw to against sides you'd be expecting to beat, and that might turn it. But the fact that you came back from the loss at United straight away with a win, that shows an improvement in mentality for sure. And the way you
It also,
dominated that game as well, that's what I liked about it because the mentality, it was like City's mentality. It was relentless, even when you were 2 goals, 3-0 up, 2 or 3-0 up early in the game. You kept going for the getting more goals, creating more chances, and it was a really ruthless display, despite not having Ødegaard or Zinchenko in the team. So I think that's the mentality's a very good thing for Arsenal at the moment.
I think before we carry on, obviously I will say that Brentford game was really good, and even in the United game, I think Arsenal deserved to win on the balance of play. So it's just one of those things that sometimes happens to teams, especially teams that are finding a feet. But one thing I have to say is when Partey and Xhaka play in midfield, especially Xhaka's more advanced role now, we're really seeing what a player he can be. I think the Xhaka that's more advanced is the one that's allowed for Switzerland, and it's a different Xhaka to the deep lying sort of deep pivot player that he played for the last few years at Arsenal. And it means that he doesn't get as exposed defensively or physically because he doesn't need that turn of pace and agility. So yeah, I think he's been revolutionary in his side. His left-footed passing is phenomenal. He's probably still the weak point overall on the long term, but for now, he's filling in really, really well. And as an Arsenal fan, it's great to see. My thing where it comes into, where I believe we may fall short, is I just think City are that relentless. Um,
Yeah.
I think if you're looking at the balance of teams and quality in the Premier League this season so far, I think Arsenal have been the second best team in the league. Maybe, well, best on balance of points, but we'll ignore that. So performance-wise, I think they've been the second best team in the league. That means that I do believe that they have it within them to win a title. I just don't think it's a realistic possibility, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if they can keep this up till Christmas, then brilliant. Do I believe the title challengers? No, but you can't rule it out because it's obvious the ability on show. And people say, oh, fixtures have been kind or whatever. But the highest placed team that City have beat this season, for example, is Bournemouth. So I mean, the argument goes both ways. The only difference is City have proven it over a 38 game season multiple times with Pep.
Yeah. Yeah. The only thing I worry about Arsenal is as we watched the United game and you kept getting done on the break, you've got Spurs coming up. I think you've got to be worried a little bit about that game because they very much are a team that play on the counter and likes getting behind. And Son seems to be coming back into form. So that will be a very important game, as a North London derby always is. But that will be a pivotal game to see how far Arsenal can go. Because if they win that one emphatically against Spurs, when they've been having a really good season so far as well, level on points with City, that will be where you start to have more of the conversation coming in of Arsenal can they get, because that's a massive game, not only because Tottenham are a great team, but also because it's the North London derby and the threat that Tottenham pose. So I think if you win that one and possibly you need to get a result against Liverpool as well. I think you've got them coming up soon and they're not on the best of form, but if you get a result against Liverpool as well, it's looking very promising for sure.
Right, I'm going to caveat this. I actually think that Spurs aren't that good of a side, whereas Liverpool have been like not getting the points for what they should do this season. So, for example, what I mean by that is Liverpool are still putting very good performances. Their underlying numbers are still very good, and they haven't necessarily been rewarded by that output with points. Whereas Spurs play pretty dire football and they keep getting points. So I think Liverpool are still, even now with their injuries, with their record, with the fact they haven't won that many games, are still a better team and a harder test for Arsenal than Spurs will be. It also helps with the fact that Spurs, if we're going to talk about this game, is at the Emirates, which Arsenal traditionally do win that fixture. Last season, it was a 3-1 domination. Arsenal blew them away in the first half. And I think the start of that game will lead massively into how the game sort of comes out. If Arsenal can come out flying out the blocks again, like they have done recently, get the first 2 goals or whatever, then it's a case of Spurs won't really be able to counterattack because obviously you then just keep the ball and keep passing it around.
Yeah.
One issue I do want to bring up with the Brentford game, just before half-time for Arsenal, there was a period where they had the ball and they kept looking a little bit complacent. Now, it's just with cheap passes. It's something that I've seen quite a few times from Arsenal, and it's a worry, but it's not something that's going to cost you in that game when we're so dominant. But there's going to be times where maybe that could cost you down the road. So it's just something to guard against.
Yeah, that's the consistency that the best sides like City have at the moment. It's how, even if one pass goes astray, you can see Pep Guardiola, he's going mental. And that's even if you're 3-4 goals up. That's the perfectionist attitude that Guardiola has and he instills into his team. But yeah, as you said about Tottenham, I think I agree. I agree because I was watching the Spurs Leicester game yesterday. Not yesterday, was it Saturday? And they were poor defensively. They were poor defensively because Leicester were awful. They were ridiculous.
I thought Leicester
in defense they were poor, but they were given too many chances by Spurs being poor in defence. And when you're playing 3/5
on the balance of the first half, Leicester weren't bad. They just lost it in a second.
Yeah.
But even when they lost it, the game they lost it for was their own errors, really.
Yeah.
Danny Ward, I don't know what he's doing. He's not the greatest, but yeah, I mean, Spurs had a resounding victory. It was what 6-2 in the end.
6-2, yeah.
But on the balance of play, both teams weren't amazing.
No.
So I don't know. It's one of them though. But Conte always gets results when the team performs poorly. But anyway, moving past the North London derby because obviously that's a big thing in the next sort of game week because that's when the international break subsides. What would you say then is Arsenal's realistic finishing position then? Because I actually think from how the season started, second isn't out of the remit. I actually think quite comfortably for how the season has started with Chelsea underperforming with a striker. Tottenham don't look good but get the points, and Liverpool are in all sorts of bother at the moment. I think Arsenal are quite comfortably the second best team in the league at the moment. Yeah. That won't stay the same because you've got to imagine Liverpool with Thiago back and stuff will up the level. But I think they could get second. I think when you're asking the question, are they title challengers? I think if they up the level and continue this success, there's no doubt they would be because the points suggest they would. But I don't think it's going to happen because we've seen how relentless City are. We know how good Haaland is. We know how good Pep is. And it's just an unfortunate scenario where City are an immovable object. And I think that's what it's going to come down to.
Yeah, this is the best City side I think I've seen in a few seasons now. As I said before, how relentless we are with when we get the ball at our feet. We've got so many options now. We've got the quick passing football we play to get the cutback, or we've even got the ball now in behind to Haaland. I mean, against Wolves, he had one chance, he scored it. That's how relentless he can be, and I think that's the problem for Arsenal, especially when we do actually play you as well, because Haaland in behind could be a bit of an issue for the Arsenal defence, I feel.
Definitely, but I think one thing with Arteta, when it is against teams that are better, so like City, especially last year, he does seem to know what he's doing. I know it sounds stupid because obviously the results don't always go well. So, for example, I'm not on about the 5-0 at the Etihad. That's out of my head now. That's gone.
Okay.
And that was a red card that early on that sort of led to that scoreline. I think we were still lost, but I don't think it would have been 5. But you go back to the game where we lost narrowly 2-1 at the Emirates. Arsenal, for large portions of that game, were miles better than City. Even Pep came out ahead. City were really lucky to get a result. Now I know, obviously, performances only mean so little when results aren't like accumulated. You need to match the performances with the result.
Yeah.
But it does show with that, and also the fact that I think this 3-1 against United might be only the second time Arteta's lost to United out of like 7 in his managerial career with Arsenal. So it does show, and obviously the 3-1 win at Chelsea last season. He does know what he's doing in big games. And like the FA Cup, he obviously knocked out Chelsea. Was it Liverpool and City as well on that run to the FA Cup win? I know he definitely knocked out City and he definitely beat Chelsea in the final.
See, I remember.
But yeah, so like it shows he knows what he's doing. So I'm not too, as an Arsenal fan, I'm not too worried. I mean, I don't expect the league title. It's not going to happen, but it's definitely promising the way the team's performing. The third youngest team on average in Europe's big top 5 leagues. And yeah, they're just coming together. It just needs a few more pieces before a title charge is fully there. I think obviously just maybe a backup winger, maybe definitely a backup right back, so White doesn't have to fill in at right back.
Bit more depth in midfield probably as well. That's probably
I mean probably just one more midfielder. I'd say like get not necessarily a Tielemans, but someone who's more of a 6 than and maybe a bit more 2-footed than Granit Xhaka, a bit more agile. But yeah, I mean the building blocks are there. The process is underway, and I do trust Arteta. And I'm going to make a statement to round out this video. Because I don't think we're going to win the title. Can we put up a challenge? Yes, but I think, and I've said this before, in his managerial career, not necessarily at Arsenal, Mikel Arteta will definitely win a Premier League title, and that's a statement I want to give. I don't even think it's too controversial, but mainly because he's going to end up at City. But we'll
I was
that.
going to say it depends what club he's managing during his managerial career at Arsenal. I don't think he'll win one with Arsenal. I'm being honest. I don't think he will. But whichever one he moves to next, if it's in the Premier League, I think he'll definitely win one with them.
If he stays at Arsenal for 10 years, I think he does. Because I think by that point, Pep's moved on, Klopp's moved on. You've got to imagine they will have a transitional phase at that point because of how instrumental those managers have been. And then that's when it's his time to strike. Because I do actually think I did say 5th at the start of the season, but I think he's now probably the 4th best manager in the Premier League. And he's only worse than Conte because of what Conte's won. So it's like, if you look at the style of play, he's better. He's probably at the moment better than Conte. But obviously Conte has that win factor, whereas Arteta is unproven to a large extent in that scenario. So then you're looking at obviously Klopp and Pep, and if you take them out of the conversation, maybe. I think this squad's definitely capable of in a few years.
Yeah, when it's developed as well, because if you think they're all very young players at the moment. If they start getting to the age that the average age of the City squad is, for example, then like you said, Pep and Klopp aren't there. Especially Liverpool squad's aging a little bit. Van Dijk's 30, 31. Got Salah who's getting on a little bit as well. Thiago. The main core of their squad is aging. Then
I don't think Liverpool
definitely on.
I don't think. Obviously, Liverpool have been amazing recently, but I don't think right now Liverpool are the long-term enemies to that claim.
No,
it would all be City, and it's just the thing is, the drop off, I think, when Pep leaves, as much as you will still win leagues, you will still win a lot. History has taught us that teams don't usually dominate over 10-year periods and win every league title.
Yeah.
Even when United were at the pomp, Chelsea won a few, Arsenal won a few, City started coming into it towards the end. So it's like it just happens, and teams do have ebbs and flows. Now, the issue to City in this correlation is Newcastle will eventually come up here and be a title challenger. So maybe not, but I do think Arteta will win a Premier League in his career, whether with Arsenal or not.
Yeah, I don't think that's too controversial statement to put out there, considering how young he is as a manager and how well he's done already in the few years he's had with what he's been given. So yeah, I think it's a realistic statement, that. Yeah.
But to answer the question of the video, do you think Arsenal are title challengers? Do you think they're capable of being title challengers?
I think they're capable of it, but if I'm being realistic, I think their aim that's realistic but is still enough of an ambition is second, because Liverpool, it's about shrugging off Liverpool really for me this season for Arsenal. So I think that's a massive statement to the Premier League, shrugging off Liverpool, who have been second or first over the past 3-4 seasons. That's like saying, we're new here, we're young, but we're going to dominate this league a bit more now. I think that's a great statement to make, and I think that's what Arsenal need to wait for.
The thing is, they're like Arsenal, they're a B-Tech City, aren't they, in the way they play as well? Like, you just see, you watch Arteta ball, and you can see the correlations of Pep.
Yeah.
Like, the inverted fullbacks now that he keeps, even Tierney's playing an inverted fullback.
Even the way they play players as well with Jesus and Zinchenko.
Yeah, and then the way they're like playing it around as well, like yesterday's dominance of just literally the move isn't on it, then go back to the defense, do a few balls, then a straight one down into the middle to break the lines, then you start again. It's just it's uncanny at times, but you can tell he is a Pep understudy.
Yeah, it's really evident, isn't it?
But yeah, anyway, thank you for watching. Please be sure to like and subscribe. Turn that notification bell on for more from me and Alex. And we'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Bye.